My grown daughter got us kicked out of a Bahamas hotel, so I tossed her suitcase in the ocean. My daughter ruined our family trip, and we got kicked out of the hotel. I threw her suitcase into the ocean. Tiffany is 24. She doesn't drive, doesn't cook, and still asks how to turn on the oven. She lives in our guest suite for free. Her mom gives her $1,500 every week. I let it go on. I know I helped cause this. We coddled her too long. In middle school, she mocked kids who wore normal clothes. I tried to stop it. Her mom said I was too harsh, and that pattern never really stopped. For my 50th birthday, my wife suggested a trip to the Bahamas. It was our first trip in years. Tiffany loved the idea and started posting about it before we even booked flights. The day we landed, it was hot, about 85. At the airport, Tiffany looked at her furry jacket and rolled her eyes. "So I have to dress like the broke people in t-shirts?" she said. She asked the concierge for a luxury boutique and came back 3 hours later with bags, new sets, sandals, sunglasses. I told myself day 1 was rough and it would get better. It didn't. Day 2, she slept until 2. We had a snorkeling tour that morning. I knocked and called. No answer, so we left. While we were on the boat, my phone buzzed over and over. 16 missed calls. When I called back, Tiffany screamed that we abandoned her. My wife apologized and said we should have woken her. That night at dinner, Tiffany sent her pasta back 4 times. Nothing was wrong. She wanted to test them. The waiter looked drained. I left a big tip. Day 3 was my birthday. I had a reservation at a seafood place on the water. 6-month wait list. I booked it last year. At 5, I reminded Tiffany dinner was at 7. She opened the door in silk pajamas, phone in her hand. "I'd rather stay in," she said, like it was fast food. My wife tried to convince her. Tiffany shrugged and shut the door. I stood there for a minute. Then I told my wife we were going anyway. I wasn't going to let her ruin it. We changed and headed down. Before dinner, we tried the pool. Tiffany argued with the attendant about towels. "These are too thin," she said, and demanded the nicer ones for sweet guests. She took 2 chairs and told a couple to move for content. She went live and mocked the cheap resort vibe. Staff asked her to stop filming others. Tiffany rolled her eyes and kept going. I pulled her aside and told her to cut it out. She ordered room service to the pool, filmed 2 bites, and left the rest in the sun. On the way back, she lost her keycard and snapped at the desk clerk like he had stolen it. She tried to book the spa for 6 and got told to wait. She said she had status and demanded they bump someone. She posted a story calling it the worst resort ever. In the elevator, she told me to rent a private cabana for photos. I said no. She muttered that I was cheap and walked off. Dinner was good. Sunset, lobster. My wife put her phone down and we talked. For 2 hours, I forgot stress. When we got back to the hotel around 10, 2 security guards stood in our hallway. One spoke into a radio. The other looked relieved when he saw us. They asked if we were the parents of the guest in room 412. That was Tiffany's room. They said she'd been blasting music since 8. When neighbors complained, she turned it louder. When staff knocked, she yelled she was paying good money and could do what she wanted, which was rich since we were paying. 20 minutes before we arrived, she threw a glass lamp at the wall and called the desk to threaten a lawsuit. The manager came up. He was calm and firm. He said we had to check out by 9 the next morning. He'd already called other hotels. While he spoke, Tiffany came out in those silk pajamas. Hair and makeup perfect. She smirked. Something in me snapped. I walked into her room, grabbed her big designer suitcase, the one she bragged about buying for this trip. It held her favorite outfits, the new resort wear, and both makeup bags. She started yelling, asking what I was doing. I didn't answer. I carried the suitcase through the lobby. My wife called after me. Tiffany's voice echoed. Guests stared. I went out the back to the dock. The water was dark. I walked to the end and lifted the suitcase. I threw it as hard as I could into the ocean. It hit with a splash. I watched it sink. Clothes, sandals, jewelry, gone. About $6,000. Tiffany screamed behind me. My wife said my name, but I watched until the bubbles faded. When I turned around, Tiffany's face was red. There were real tears, not the fake ones she uses. I looked at her. "You can swim for it or wear my old t-shirts on the flight home," I said. She stared at me like I was a stranger. The manager stood a few steps back, quiet. The guards waited. No one moved. We checked out the next morning. Tiffany wore one of my gray shirts and my wife's spare shorts. She kept her head down on the way to the car. Now my wife and daughter are calling me cruel for the suitcase. Was I wrong?